My name is Kim Daly. I have a BS in nutritional biochemistry with a minor in sports nutrition and a personal training certification. I made history in franchise consulting. I am totally unemployable and 100% financially free. If you want franchising to totally change your life like it did mine, then this is the video for you. Welcome back to Kim Daly TV. I'm so happy and grateful that you're here. I have so much fun making these videos for you. In today's video, I want to share with you how franchising completely changed my life. And if that is your goal, then I'm so happy that you're here. And you know that I'm a franchise consultant, and for the last 2 decades of my life, I have been helping people just like you say yes to the dream to own a franchise by aligning their background, interests, skills, finances, and life goals to some of the best franchise opportunities out there today. And if you get inspired and you want Kim Daly to help you, that is the point of Kim Daly TV, then I want you to stay with me to the end of the video where I'll share how you can be my next candidate. Okay, so let's talk about how I got into franchising and how franchising has helped me build and scale wealth over the last 20 plus years of my life. So you got to go all the way back to graduating from college, where I was on my way to medical school, and I answered a classified ad in the newspaper for a telemarketing job for a franchise company. And I thought that deviated me from my life's path of going to medical school. But I think it was actually more a destiny moment. So there's kind of a common question thrown around in franchising, like, how did franchising find you? Because nobody really wakes up and goes, oh yeah, I want to be in franchising. But we find ourselves answering classified ads, or as is more common, at some fork in the road, right? You've been laid off by corporate America, or you just hate your job and you're looking to do something different. And you're like, what am I going to do? I need to create cash flow. Oh, a business. Well, I don't have the risk tolerance to own a business, so how about franchising? Like, that's typically how most people find themselves on a YouTube channel like Kim Daly TV, thinking about, do I want to own a franchise? So my path was a little bit different. I was super young and on my way to medical school, answered this classified ad, and I fell completely in love with the franchising industry. I mean, I'm not alone. A lot of my friends, my closest friends from the franchise industry, we've been together for 20 years. This industry sucks us in and keeps us here. And there's a reason for that. Because when you go to work every day to help other people live their dreams, and all the while you're living your dreams, I mean, it doesn't really get any better than that. There's none of this in corporate America where you have to stab somebody's back to get ahead. In franchising, when one person figures something out and we share, we all win, right? Rising tides raise all ships here. And so it really is the coolest environment, the happiest industry, and in my opinion, the very best place to be if you want to build and scale wealth using business cash flowing returns. Okay, so here's what happened. I worked for this guy for 3 years and I learned about franchising and I got a taste of entrepreneurship. So I said, as Miss Independent, I know more. I don't want to be a franchisee. I want to be an entrepreneur. So I broke off, and this was as the dot-com bubble was just beginning. And I launched a company called BeHealthyNow.com. Now, I was very fortunate to get my website partnered with USAToday.com. So if you went to USAToday.com and you clicked on Health and Fitness Marketplace, it would actually take you over to Be Healthy Now, which was my company. So because of that national exposure, I had immediate clout and was attracting lots and lots of advertisers and revenue, and my business was massively successful. I started traveling a lot. I needed to be out on the West Coast because that's where everything good in health and wellness happens. So I had an apartment in Vegas because sometimes I was going to Utah and sometimes I was going down to LA. And then, as luck would have it, I was hired as a contractor to help eDiets.com grow a fitness model for their dieting membership. So I ended up moving down to South Florida and living in Boca Raton. So I had this entrepreneurial life where I was saying yes to pretty much everything that came my way, which is pretty common as an entrepreneur, because you're just sort of trying to survive and figure out like what's going to stick. And I was traveling a lot. I was away from my family. And then 9/11 happened and I was living in Florida. My family was up here in Southern New Hampshire. And I sort of had this moment of, what are you doing in your life, Kim Daly? Right? I was making money. By all means, I was successful. I was 29 years old. I had made money in my business almost from go. It had future potential, especially if I was willing to chase all the dot-com money. But what was I doing? I had no real goal for what I was building. I had no real plan for my life. And I just realized I wanted to get home and be closer to my family. So I had to figure out what I was going to do. So I started doing some networking and thinking about what I wanted to do, and an opportunity fell into my lap. And that's how it always works. When the student is ready, the teacher appears. The opportunity comes when you start asking the right questions and looking for answers. The universe is so consistent. Ask plus believe always equals receive. And so I started asking, what could I do? What is next for Kim Daly? I needed something solid. I needed a plan. I wanted some stability, and I wanted something that I could do from New Hampshire, where my family was. Well, an opportunity fell into my lap, and it was called FranChoice. It is the opportunity that I have been blessed to be a part of now for 23 solid years. So I spent 5 years running my own business as an entrepreneur, and I've spent the last 23 years as a franchisepreneur. So, zooming out, if you look at Kim Daly's life, 5 years as an entrepreneur and 23 years as a franchisepreneur, which one do you think I'm a little more fond of? Franchising wins all day long. Why? For all of the reasons I have stated on 1,000 videos right here on Kim Daly TV. All of the messages that I share with you, these aren't just things that I'm saying to you in videos. They're things that I'm living every single day right here in my own business. So the whole idea that you're in business for yourself, but not by yourself, right? That you can build and scale wealth, that when you have a problem, there are people there who have answers. We're not sitting over here on the sideline in the fetal position when the pandemic happened, or recessions happen, or elections happen, or all the things that tend to sort of rock a business. You're not sitting there in the fetal position all alone trying to figure out, oh my God, what do I do next? You're working in this collaborative environment with other people who have all the same worries and concerns, and together you solve the problems. So we're all independent business owners, but we're working together to solve the same problems that we all have. So this environment, it just makes for a happier, easier, more satisfying experience in business ownership, in my opinion. I am incredibly blessed. I am part of one of the most prestigious organizations on the supplier side in franchising, a company called FranChoice, that allows me to be a franchise consultant. So I'm trained by a corporate office. I pay royalties for 23 years back to FranChoice. So I do all the things that I'm helping you to do when you become a franchisee. And I went from 8 years as an average performer in my business to, in my 9th year, making history as a franchise consultant. So the reason I started the video saying that I have a BS in nutritional biochemistry is I want to make it clear. I don't have an MBA. I never went to business school. My plan was to go to medical school. But here I am making history in a franchise, and you don't even have an MBA? No, I had a lot of business ownership experience, but it still took me till my 9th year as a franchise consultant to really figure out how to take what I had and really do it. But it took me until my 9th year to really figure out what I had and to shift my mindset. And it was really the mindset shift that drove me from average performing to history making, that helped me to grow my business by 350% in my 9th year of business. Right? That's amazing. It was an amazing year by all accounts. And here's the thing. In the 11, 12 years since then, I've never fallen back to that average performing year because the mindset drove me to history making, and I knew exactly what I had done. So all of the videos on Kim Daly TV where I'm talking about what drives top performance and how to fail in a franchise, these are not just things I've learned from textbooks or from watching other people's case studies. These are things I've learned in the trenches in my own darn business. It's what makes me so passionate about wanting to help you. It's why I continue to make videos to inspire you to want to work with me. And the whole point of making this video, telling my story, it's not to be all braggadocious about Kim Daly. It's to inspire you that I can be your mentor. Like, I know not only how to build and succeed in a small business, I can help you go from average to history making, but along the way, I've also become a very astute alternative investor. And I became financially free. So let's get to that part of the fun story. So, first of all, I make history in my 9th year of business, right? So then I had to figure out, what did I do? I knew the mindset shift that I had and the different questions I was asking myself, but I had to really study what I did in order to replicate it in the next year, in the 10th year, and in the 11th year. But as I said, I've never fallen back to that average performance ever again because I knew what I had done. And when I had the KPIs that I could reverse engineer, then I could create the daily plan. And that's my navigation system. So when other people that do what I do marvel at the success that I have and the consistency that I have, I say it's not really magical, even though it is a little magical, even to Kim Daly, but there's a science to what I do. If it was pure magic, I wouldn't be able to replicate it. But I have total control over what I do. And that's why I boast that I am 100% unemployable. Like, why would I ever go work for somebody else, even if they offered me $5 million a year? It's not worth it to me because I can figure out on my own, given the right business with the right amount of ability to produce cash flow, how to build a $5 million a year EBITDA for myself. I don't need somebody else's job. So take your job and shove it. Now, when I was about 40 years old, that was the first time that I really kind of woke up and said, wow, I think I'm completely unemployable. And when I told my dad that, oh my God, he laughed so hard. He was like, Kimberly, you have been unemployable since you were 2 years old. I mean, yeah, I guess I've always had a little bit of Miss Independence in me. But anyway, it took me until I was 40 years old to realize. And I'm a little bit older than 40 now. So let's just say I'm completely unemployable. And that is what I want for you. On my podcast, Create Wealth Through Franchising, I always love to ask all of my franchisee guests, like, so has this franchise opportunity made you unemployable? And the question always catches people off guard and they giggle or, they laugh. And sometimes they even say no. And I'm like, they just haven't found the sweet spot or their stride in business ownership, because once you understand how to get control of a business, there is no way you're turning back and you're ever going to work for anybody else again. And why would you? Doesn't everybody want the freedom of business ownership? Yes. The reason people don't do it is they can't figure out how to get control. But that's because they're trying to figure out how to get control from the sideline. You can't get control from the sideline. You got to get in the game. The name of the game is failing forward. Like, yeah, I can sit here and brag about all of the history-making years I've had, but I can also tell you about some really epic setbacks. Every success story is not a straight shot to the top of the mountain. There's a lot of valleys along the way. And here's the thing, like, why would you want it to be all like roses and rainbows, right? You learn more about yourself and about how to learn to be in control when things are not going right. You can really only appreciate the magic of the mountaintop because you endured the pain of the valley, right? Like, I don't mean to be like all poetic here, but it's true. You can't really know what success feels like unless you know the opposite of what success doesn't feel like. You can't really know what success feels like unless you've been in that valley and you've had some sleepless nights and you've lost some money. And listen, I haven't been a small business owner for all these years because I've been massively successful all along the way. I've been a small business owner all these years because I've had many a valley and I've endured in the valley. So get in the game of business ownership and get ready to roll up your sleeves and have the ride of your life and be ready for a lot of wins, but also a lot of setbacks. It's all part of it. Okay, so back to my story. So I made history. I've been doing amazing things in franchise consulting. And so fast forward to about 2018. Now, I had literally accomplished everything I could think of accomplishing with my franchise consulting business in terms of growth. I went from that history-making year. I turned that into a history-making 6 months. I turned it into a history making quarter, like making the same revenue in 12 months to 6 months to then 3 months. I cut my hours to 20 hours instead of 40 hours. I gave up lead sources and went strictly referral. Like I grew every single way that I could figure out in my franchise consulting business. And so then I had kind of outgrown my business, but I was doing so well and I was enjoying what I do so much. If you can't tell, I still enjoy it. So I didn't want to give it up. So I was ready for growth and I started asking for a new mentor. And wouldn't you know, along comes a guy who heard me on a podcast. Now, this is a really great story. So, years ago, there was a guy at my gym. He's super famous. He wrote a best-selling book called The Pirates of Manhattan. His name is Barry Dyke. And he asked me to be a guest on his radio show. We literally went into a live radio studio and we recorded an episode about franchising on his show called The Economic Warrior. I thought nobody's listening to this radio show on public radio, and off I went. So that interview is housed on his website and I never thought anything about it. Well, fast forward several years, God doesn't waste anything. And here I am asking for a mentor, and a man who is in the alternative investing world listens to that podcast or that radio interview, reaches out to Kim Daly, and he becomes the mentor that I was asking for. He's personally worth, I think, more than $50 million. He was the most abundant thinker that I had ever met in my life. Like, I'm a super positive, abundant person, but when I met this guy, I was like, wow, I have lessons to learn. And I asked him to mentor me. And I said, I want to think like you think, because as he talked about money, I realized I don't think about money the way that he thinks about money. Truly wealthy people have a totally different idea of the wealth game than the average person. In fact, up until 2018, while I had been a business owner at this point now for like 20 something years, I was putting money into a self-employed pension plan because that's what people do, right? And any extra money I had, I was putting into stocks. That's what people do. That's what we're taught to do. Well, along comes this guy and says, no. Truly wealthy people don't save their money for tomorrow. They put their money into motion. And he taught me about velocity of money. Well, all that he was saying to me made so much sense that I stopped putting money into my self-employed pension plan that day, and I've never gone back. And I started pulling money out of that stock portfolio to put it into motion in alternative investments. That means real estate syndication, car wash syndication, mobile home parks, cryptocurrency, and the like. In fact, many of the passive investing experts that I've had on my podcast and on Kim Daly TV are people that I am personally invested with. So I started pulling money out of the stock market, putting it into these passive investments, and failing forward, learning as I went what I liked and what I didn't like. But the long and short is, within 4 years, I went from asset rich and cash flow poor, other than the cash flow that I had to wake up and earn in my business, to 100% financially free. Hear me again. It took me 4 years to think in a different way because I had the right mentor, and to take action in a different way to create a totally different outcome for my life than I had created for all those years before. I went from saving money the traditional way for tomorrow and then waking up to work every single day and grinding and hustling and feeling like I had to get ahead, to moving my money in a very different way and creating passive cash flow and retiring myself in 4 years. Now, clearly, I'm not retired. I have way too much energy and way too much passion for what I do to be retired. But what I want you to hear me say is, when I started thinking differently, everything changed. So if you go back to, from my 8th year to my 9th year, average performing to history making, it was a mindset shift that took me out of the average pack into the stratosphere and making history in franchise consulting. And then again, a mindset shift that took me from saving money for tomorrow to moving my money into passive investing vehicles and within 4 years, becoming financially free and retiring myself. So today in 2025, I show up for the two businesses that I run that are very full time that I love just for fun. If I'm ever having a bad day, I just say to myself, hey, Kim, you don't actually have to do anything today if you don't want to. And that's the truth. And that's what you want. That's why you're on Kim Daly TV. That's why you're thinking about a franchise. And that's why I thought it would be fun for me to make a video for you about how franchising has changed my life. Now, I've been real with you. I've told you it hasn't been a straight shot to the top, not even in passive investing either. I have certainly lost some money. But if you're going to get in the game, you got to be ready to take the wins and take the losses. You can't just expect everything to be perfect and a straight shot. All of this investing and wealth building game, it's nothing more than a personal development journey. And the more that you're willing to grow and stretch yourself, the more that you're going to learn and the better you're going to get at it. So I started this video by telling you I have a BS in nutritional biochemistry. I don't have an MBA. And here I am, financially free through franchising. If I can do it, you can do it. And I want you to 100% believe that. And I also want you to let me be your mentor, your franchise consultant, and your daily mindset coach. That is where I find the most pleasure in life, teaching you what I've learned, helping you set yourself free from any lack and any limitation, from anywhere in your life that you feel stuck. It's all a mindset shift. And the first mindset shift it takes is to stop thinking about it and do something about it. So right now, you've made it to the end of the video. If you are ready to begin your journey to explore a franchise, I want you to follow the link in the description below and reach out to me. I personally will respond to you right away, and we will begin what could become an epic journey where you get to become totally unemployable and 100% financially free. I can't wait to meet you.